Welcome to the Books Brothers Podcast, a book club turned podcast where each week we read chapters from books, reflect on them as they relate to our life, and connect with each other by sharing our experiences. I'm Adam.
I'm Plez.
I'm Thomas.
I'm Matt.
I'm Rob.
And I'm Garrett.
We are currently reading and discussing The Blue Zones, 9 Lessons for Living Longer from the People Who Have Lived the Longest by Dan Buettner. In today's episode, we will be discussing the concluding chapter of the book, Chapter 7, Your Personal Blue Zone. Stick with us for the end of the episode as we will be introducing our next book we will be discussing as a part of the Books Brothers podcast. In the last chapter of The Blue Zones, Your Personal Blue Zone, Buettner summarizes the 9 lessons that he learned from his experiences with centenarians from the Blue Zones. He shares various ways in which anyone could implement these lessons in their life, no matter where they are living, to ultimately promote living longer and being more healthy into your later years. Today, we're going to talk through each of these lessons and some strategies that the author recommends for implementation. After sharing each of the lessons, we're going to discuss which of these lessons you think you are doing well on and which ones there's room for improvement. Lesson 1. Move naturally. In each of these blue zones, people implemented regular movement into their daily routines. Between the hilly terrain, common occupation as a shepherd, and small communities, many Sardinians walked steep hills throughout the day to visit with friends, work, and accomplish other daily tasks. In Okinawa, most centenarians had personal gardens and worked the land. Strategies recommended for moving more naturally are going on daily walks, planting a garden, seeking physical activities you enjoy, inconveniencing yourself by taking the stairs instead of an elevator or biking to work, and make physical activities social by doing an exercise class or walking with a friend. Lesson 2. Hara Hachibu. In the Okinawan Blue Zone, we learned this phrase, which means eat until you are 80% full. We have all had the experience, maybe more than we like to admit, of eating until we think we are full, only to realize minutes after leaving the table that we have overeaten. Some of the ideas for implementing this lesson are: make food look bigger on your plate, use smaller plates and glasses. After serving your plate, put the food away. This will decrease your chance of getting seconds. Eat more slowly. Focus on the food while you're eating it, not letting distractions while eating, such as the TV or driving, make you overeat. And make snacking a hassle by hiding away or just not buying tempting foods. Lesson 3. Plant slant. In Nicoya, Sardinia, and Okinawa, many centenarians have avoided overprocessed foods the majority of their lives. In Loma Linda, Sardinia, and Okinawa, meat is only eaten occasionally. In all 5 blue zones, beans, fruits, and vegetables are a main food source. Strategies for implementing this lesson are: eat 4 to 6 vegetable servings daily, limit meat intake, showcase fruits and vegetables, keeping them out in the open instead of tucked away in a drawer in the refrigerator, lead with beans, and eat nuts every day.
Lesson 4 is grapes of life. In both Sardinia and Okinawa, many centenarians have a daily glass of red wine or sake, and the experience is improved by sharing with a community of friends. Buettner's recommendations here are to drink high-quality red wine. He suggests trying Sardinian Cannonau. Make it social by having a happy hour with friends or with your spouse. And remember, the key is moderation. Any more than 1 to 2 drinks per day starts to have a negative health effect. Lesson 5, purpose now. The Okinawans call it ikigai, and the Nicoyans call it plan de vida. But the idea is simple. Living with purpose can help decrease stress and promotes longevity. Strategies for this lesson are: craft a personal mission statement, learn something new, and find a partner who you can share your purpose with. Lesson 6, downshift. In many of the blue zones, life seems to move a little slower. Community is a priority and rest is valued. In Loma Linda, the Saturday Sabbath is taken seriously, and thus 1 day a week, the focus is on God, family, and rest. Recommendations for downshifting are: reduce noise in your life by turning off the TV, putting your phone down, be early to every commitment, and make time to meditate routinely.
Lesson 7. Belong. Faith played a large role in all 5 blue zones. Sardinians and Nicoyans are mostly Catholic. Okinawans have a blended religion that stresses ancestor worship. Loma Linda centenarians are Seventh-day Adventists, and Icarians are mostly Greek Orthodox. Buettner stresses the benefits a belief system contributes to longevity, and he recommends getting more involved if you're already part of a religious community, explore a new tradition, and just commit to regularly going to a service. Lesson 8. Love ones first. In a majority of the blue zones, homes are multi-generational. Grandparents are involved in their kids' and grandkids' lives and continue to serve a purpose in the home as they age. Strategies to implement this lesson are: get closer in proximity to your family, whether this means a smaller home or living closer together. Establish family rituals. create a family shrine, and put family first. And lesson 9, right tribe. Being closely connected to the community in which you live was integral to all of the blue zones. But the most noteworthy in this book was the idea of having a moai, which we learned from the Okinawans. Recommendations for this lesson are identify your inner circle and actually write down those names, be likable, and create and plan time together. In this last chapter, the reader is encouraged to complete a questionnaire on the Blue Zone's website called the Vitality Compass, but it looks like it's now called the True Vitality Test. I asked you guys to complete this test, which takes just a few minutes, and based on your answers, it calculates your potential life expectancy, your healthy life expectancy or good years, the number of extra years you'll gain by optimizing your lifestyle, and customized recommendations to help maximize your longevity. We'll include a link in the show notes so you can complete the quiz as well. So I'm really excited for this part of stuff because, here we're going to get to hear a little about what all kind of like summarizes all the various blue zones and kind of sees how we're doing as it relates to health in relation to this book. As I mentioned, I've asked all you all to fill out this test and excited to hear what your guys' answers are and what kind of recommendations to give. So Matt, if you don't mind leading us off.
Sure. Yeah, so I took about 10 minutes to complete. And I actually did it twice. I did it once right after I finished reading this last chapter, but I didn't really think through the questions all that much. So it asks you, like, how many times did you eat beans in the last week, or how much meat did you eat? And I just guesstimated. I did not really, think about what I ate in the last week. So I just put in kind of random numbers. So the first time I did it, my healthy life expectancy was 34 years of age.
Wait, are you serious?
Again, this was me not really paying attention. I was just kind of putting in random numbers into the quiz.
Okay.
The first time. So according to that one, I have one more year of a healthy life.
Oh, man.
What did you put in there? Like 7 fast food meals a week or something?
Apparently.
Wow.
I don't remember what my life expectancy was. I think it was around 70-ish or so. And my potential life expectancy was about 90 if I changed my habits according to that first quiz. So the second time I took the quiz, I actually paid attention to what I was putting in as my answers. My healthy life expectancy is 74.7 years. My total life expectancy is 87.3. And my potential life expectancy is 95.9. So
what was your thought on that?
I would be curious what it looks like if you were to do this week over week for, I don't know, a few months. Because 1 week doesn't really define what I eat. If there's a birthday party for my kids, I'm going to be eating cake. We might be on vacation and have fast food more often than I would if I'm not on vacation, things like that. So I'm curious what those types of results would look like if you did this more often.
Yeah, maybe you just found out you've only got one more year left to live.
I know. Exactly.
Good years. Well, hey, Matt, this is a throwback to The Mask of Masculinity, our first book we did to kick off the podcast. But for those of you like me who are battling the athlete mask right now and how your years compared with others, thanks for setting the bar incredibly, incredibly low at 34. No one else can take their athlete mask off now.
Yeah, Garrett. I bet you did the test more than once, though.
No, I didn't.
No, I did it twice, too. I was like Matt.
We got you beat there, Garrett.
You guys win 2-1.
What were your recommendations and what was your thought on the years it gave you?
Yeah, so the recommendations were to eat more whole grains, enjoy fruit, eat less meat, dump the junk food, cut sodium. I got to be more friendly, guys. I apologize. I haven't been very friendly, apparently. Reduce anxiety and stress, and improve my attitude. I would imagine that's pretty similar for most of us. So nothing shocking there for those results. Things that we've been talking about, things that we've kind of been hearing for a while. So I'm not surprised, but it's just more of a conscious decision to make these choices. And I think going through this book, it's been educational for me. It's more on my mind now as an everyday thing. So I'm more conscious, more aware of trying to be healthy and being aware of the things that I put into my body.
Did you guys get the one about the shower? Don't drink water from the shower head. I thought that was a weird question, but it must have something to do with just, diseases in general.
Matt, you at the beginning of the book or one of the very early chapters, you said that you didn't know if you wanted to live super long, like maybe past mid-70s or whatever. Has that changed? Has your outlook on that changed, or are you still kind of in that camp?
Great question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think that's really changed for me, to be honest. I'd say more around mid 80s is what I would project or want to be at. But yeah, I don't think I changed that answer after reading this book. I do want to live well, for sure.
So you want to tap more into your good years of life.
Exactly.
But you don't want to croak and, on the news when you're celebrating 100 live TV.
Yeah, I still don't think I want to live much longer.
He wants to go like some of those old men they were talking about in the Greek Blue Zone.
If I do live long, I want to be like that Okinawan lady who just eats a peanut or two for lunch.
Harahachibu.
And she's full, 80% full. There it is.
Let's take a quick break for a word from our sponsors.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the S word, the word that everyone's hot and steamy on these days. That's right, sustainability. Do you ever think about Garrett? Do you ever think about all the water you waste while you heat up the shower or wait for cold water to fill up a glass? Well, here at We Buy Ugly Water, we'll take your unused water and buy it from you with cold hard cash. We'll come to your house, install a separate plumbing system and water tank, and anytime you know you're going to be a wasteful killer of the earth, just flip your water system over and start filling up our eco-friendly storage tank. Why go broke when your kids want to brush their teeth with running water? Or better yet, why flush bathwater down the drain when you can send it through our triple distillation process and sell it back to your neighbor for pennies on the dollar? Here at We Buy Ugly Water, we're saving the planet one drop at a time.
Hey.
And now back to the show.
All right, Flez.
So I went up to Matt. I got 33 years of a healthy life expectancy.
Hey.
And I'm assuming it's because this book was published in 2012. So back then, alcohol was still cool. But it's actually telling me to drink wine, which is a horrendous idea. But, there's just a lot. I'm going to try not to be a Debbie Downer with my science and how much I disagree with a lot of this. But yeah, polyphenols, I'll continue getting those from vegetables, not wine. Meat, in that question, he lumped chicken into that category, which would mean for the calculation of this, that chicken and bacon are considered the same thing. That doesn't make any sense. And lean meat, good. All of this, bacon, processed meat, different. So there's one there. The thing that that brought my score down for sure would have been the depression stuff, and then the social support, which this provides obviously a lot of, and I'm getting better at that as far as in-person stuff goes. So that's definitely an area of improvement for me, and I think anxiety is kind of obviously tied in with that. This says that I need to improve my attitude too, so apparently I'm angry at this book.
There was a question about anger. Yeah.
It says dump the junk, which I kind of included, I don't eat a lot of junk food, but for the purposes of the questionnaire, I added maybe
I'll have like an Oreo here or there. Like I don't eat a lot of junk food.
And it sounds like maybe the recommendations were more generic as opposed to tailored.
Yeah. So 33, and then it said, I don't think I said the rest, 70 for the lifespan, and then 100 for, if I make some changes, 100.1, which is interesting because I am technically the only one here with a centenarian in my family. So just saying.
Wait, a current centenarian?
No, my great aunt Ruby was like 104 when she died. Yeah.
My great grandpa was over 100, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Adam, it sounds like on the overall though, you would disagree with some of the results it gave you, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I mean, two of them are like eat less meat, which I don't eat red meat hardly ever. I eat like chicken and eggs and like lean ground turkey. And then I don't agree with the idea that adding wine to my diet would somehow improve my health. That just doesn't make any sense. But the other things, obviously, I agree with, social sport, trying to do my best to decrease depression symptoms and all that kind of stuff. But I think one of the other reasons was because I technically have had high blood pressure in the past from back when I was being an idiot. And so that probably brought the health span score down a little bit. Yeah. This book felt kind of lame for me, being that I'm really moderate and like have a nutrition background, and some of the things are very generic. But it was cool reading about some of the different places and like the geography and some of that kind of stuff. And then obviously the discussions with you guys was fun.
Gotta get that Moai still.
Yep.
All right. It said like 75.3, 88, and then 95.9. One of the things that I thought about answering the question was the stress and the anger. Out of 30 days, I said at least 21 days for both of those questions. So it was pretty high. I mean, I think I've just had a lot of anxiety with just life, work, whatever, and that's bled into anger as well. And so today at work, I decided to shed a responsibility that was kind of an extracurricular with corporate challenge sports event that happens throughout Kansas City, because it was just like, yeah, that's healthy, but like this is just going to add more stress to my life, trying to coordinate, schedule, pick a team, coordinate with people. And it was just like, yeah, I don't need this stress. So I'm shedding it. And I want to look to do the things that will make me happier in the long run, and extra responsibility with like accountability or like holding other people accountable is not something that I want to take on. I personally enjoyed the book. I've become more focused on just my intake, what I'm eating. I've been snacking less. I've been watching what I'm eating, more single ingredient foods, more vegetables, things of that nature. So, Flez, I hear you. You're probably used to those things. Me personally, I mean, like I said, I didn't really grow up eating vegetables. So starting to fall in love with them here in my 30s is maybe I'm late to the game, but I think that there's more to come. A couple of things just that I wrote down from the lesson. So I do want to inconvenience myself better. Taking the stairs up to work instead of the elevator is something that I started to do. Do want to try tofu. Never had it before. Marianne and I have been talking about making a family mission statement for a couple of months now. So that is something that I'm going to prioritize here within the next month. And I would enjoy sharing that with you guys once we have it done. Also kind of scarcity brain, but just reducing the noise, having like more intentional conversations with people. I walk past my neighbors every day. I never talk to them. I never even say hi sometimes. And it's mainly because I'm always on my phone. So putting the phone down when I go on walks is something that I want to do. And then I know I've shared, but my parents are getting older, and we talked about like doing a 2024 trip together, whether that's like Big Cedar Lodge or South Dakota, somewhere small close by. I want to do that with my family. I want to take advantage of the time that we have together. And at the end of the day, they say that, you always have your family. And so I want to lean into my biological family as well as you guys. So good book. Enjoyed it. Going to pass it along to a buddy at work. I enjoyed this one.
Well said, Rob. Yeah, my numbers were almost exactly like Matt's. Second try, that is. 74.9, and with some work, 87.6 good years, and potential 95.9. I think the main things that it gave me to work on were diet-wise, just getting more whole grains. I think I get a lot of grains, but they're not whole grains. More fruit and vegetables, like probably all of us need to be eating. I think this book really hit. I think I've over-focused on the diet and exercise aspect my whole life of health and longevity. And I think this book really hit that presumption in me and kind of made me rethink and get a different perspective on what actually creates a healthy lifestyle, and a lifestyle that doesn't just make you healthy, but makes you happier and makes you healthier in every aspect, not just physically or chemically. And I think the cultural and traditional aspects of this, the relationships, the beliefs, all of those things, I think, are things that I think when it comes to health, I haven't really taken as seriously. And yeah, I think we're in a bubble here in the US. We're in a zone. It's not a blue zone, obviously, because we have really high rates of a lot of these diseases that cut your life short and cut your good years short. But it just kind of encouraged me to create my own bubble within the US, and to try to expand that bubble to the people I love, like Rob was saying, and just encourage the right kind of traditions and lifestyle. So I just need to keep in touch with people better. I think as a 30-something-year-old guy, that's always something that we can get better at. But yeah, I think relationships is a big one for me, is to actually put some effort into being intentional about that kind of stuff. Another thing about me is a lot of times I will just fall into time with friends because they've planned something or they've invited me. I usually don't do that on my own and plan things for the sake of seeing people. I usually just kind of, that happens by default, and it probably doesn't happen often enough. So I think it would be nice if I could, plan those types of things a little more often and reach out to folks, Good book though, overall.
My good year expectancy is 78.5. And then the next one is 90.8. And then with changes, I could be 95.9, like several other of you. I think the biggest takeaway for me on the diet side is more whole grains like quinoa, beans, tofu, what we've talked about. Otherwise, I feel like I'm in a pretty good place diet-wise and activity-wise. The main thing for me is on the mental, emotional side at this point. Anxiety, stress. It says improve my attitude. So anger, control, whether it's being angry at drivers on my commutes, like little things, but then they add up. Taking frustrations at work home with me and being, just quick to anger at home or whatever. I think that's probably the main focus. I think the diet and the activity is probably in a pretty good spot. There's obviously room for improvement, but the biggest area of focus for me is the mental, emotional side. I did really like the book. I really am glad that we have different viewpoints. So Flez, I'm glad you spoke up and spoke out. A memory that really sticks in my mind when I lived in China is I took my parents on a paid tourist trip throughout Beijing, where we went to the Great Wall, went to the Forbidden City, Tiananmen Square. And what I didn't know when I bought the trip is that it included some kind of like marketing gimmick stops where they'd stop at like kind of like a jewelry store. And like, these are ancient, Chinese jewels or rocks only from China terrain, things like that. And one of the stops was at a traditional Chinese medicine shop, more or less. and they brought in these Chinese doctors, and honestly, they looked like they were centenarians. I'm not joking. They looked 85 to 90. And I kid you not, one by one, they went to my wife, my mom, my dad, and me, and they just touched us on the wrist, like right above where you'll feel your pulse. And they would just touch us. And I thought it was like voodoo or magic or psychic stuff, but they identified exactly the health struggles that each of us have. They were like, to my dad, yeah, you struggle with sleeping. You probably have a lot of sleep apnea. And he's like, yep. And they're like, to me, they're like, you're pretty healthy, but you need to stop eating as much fried food. Like, yep. Like it was really bizarre. And I'm not making a claim of anything, but what I am saying is my time over there, that experience obviously stuck out, but then also just seeing different approach to medicine, to preventative medicine. Like, I think what I'm saying is I think it just opened my mind to there's different ways to view healthcare and how to pursue prosperity and flourishing. So this book really fascinated me because of the different cultures, because of the different areas and walks of life and their different views on meat, on alcohol, on community, things like that. So that was something that really sparked my interest and intrigue. And I just thought of sharing that story.
Yeah. So my ages that I got, so good years was 79. Life expectancy was 91.5. And then if making changes, 96.3 was like the potential. Similar, I think, things for me were, dietary focused of, trying to eat more vegetables, more fruits. That's something I would say throughout this book that has been a big takeaway for me overall. I do feel like I've enjoyed this book. It's been helpful to like start making like little changes here and there and kind of like thinking about how to be more active, not just exercising every day, but also like incorporating movement throughout the day, as well as really trying to up our vegetable and fruit intake. And that's something that Ruth and I have been working towards. I would say, honestly, one of the other big takeaways for me, I was kind of convicted about the family side of things of just, I live very far away from my family and having that more desire to be more connected to family. And that's something that I've kind of decided this next, and it was kind of going on before this, but decided that, I really want to make a better effort of going back and seeing family more often. I would say up until the last year or two before we had Daphne, we were, only going back probably twice a year, only seeing family twice a year. That's, it can be tough, especially seeing parents age and stuff. So that's something I would say this book that was a takeaway for me of just getting closer back to the family. But overall, enjoyed the read. I thought it was great for kind of the discussion side of things as well. So before concluding today's episode, we wanted to share with you all the next book that we are going to be reading through as the Books Brothers podcast. I'm really excited about this book, and it has been one that we've been talking about doing for a few months. Garrett was the one who initially had brought the idea up of doing this book. So Garrett, why don't you tell us a little about what we're reading next and what you are excited about learning from it?
Sure. The next book is The Psychology of Money: Timeless Lessons on Wealth, Greed, and Happiness, written by Morgan Housel. And what Morgan does in this book is share short stories that explore the interesting ways that people think about money and teaches us how to make better sense of one of life's most important topics, which is money. So there's obviously a lot of information about how to invest, the data behind it, research, investments, but how we actually spend money can be a very emotional. And in the real world, it's not just math-based when we're making day in and day out decisions on putting food on the table, interacting with our peers, things like that. So it was something that my boss actually recommended to me when I first told him about the podcast. So this has been on my radar for a few months now. We were on a business trip together and we had just launched the podcast. And I asked him if he had any recommendations. He's extremely intelligent and I learned a lot from him. And I asked him for input, and he shared this book with me about how it's not prescriptive. Hey, you should invest your money this way. It more explores the ways we think about money. And all six of us probably have we have a lot of similarities, but when it comes to talking about money, there's probably very unique vantage points and viewpoints that we all share about money. Additionally, when looking at some of the podcast data since we've launched the podcast, some of the most interactions and listens that we've had have related to topics about money. So this felt timely. We've also talked a lot about like the mind, the physical health standpoint. This was a very health conscious book. Blue Zones, the previous book, Scarcity Brain, how we're always craving more and how to fight that. This kind of seems like a good next different phase of life to talk about that's not just strictly dieting or exercising, but something that's a huge and important and daily facet of our lives.
Get rich or die trying.
There you go. Well, thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Books Brothers Podcast. Join us next time as we start The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. We'll be discussing the intro chapter through chapter 2. If you haven't yet, there is still time to get the book so you can follow along with us. If you enjoyed listening or benefited from our conversation, please subscribe, give us a review, and share with a friend that you want to connect with. Lastly, we would love to hear your thoughts. You can reach us by email at connect@booksbrotherspodcast.com or on Instagram @booksbrotherspodcast. Until next week, read, reflect, and connect.